శ్రీ గురుభ్యో నమః. చాప్టర్ 11 కమలమ్మ గారి వ్యక్తిత్వం, ప్రొఫౌండ్ పర్సనాలిటీ. కమలమ్మ గారు displayed unique qualities like supreme devotion, respect towards elders, compassion towards the younger, etc., even when she was a small girl. She was generous by nature and would extend a helping hand to those who were in need. She was an excellent host and would serve food sumptuously even when visitors came unannounced in spite of her bad financial conditions. She would always have some money neatly folded and tied to her sari or in a small box hidden in her person. When newly wedded couples or children saluted her to take her blessings, she would bless them and also gift them with some money from the folds of her sari. No one knew how much money she had. In spite of her financial setbacks, she would always give money to those in dire need. When devotees pointed out that she was going out of way to help people, she would laugh heartily and say, "When I have money, I feel I'm like Kubera, the Lord of Wealth, and hence I give away to the needy without any hesitation. When I don't have money, I'm Kuchela, the famished, poverty-stricken friend of Lord Krishna. Yet I don't have any problem because the Lord himself stands by me." Kamalamma Garu could adjust and accommodate with people of all ages gracefully and comfortably. She would collect a group of children around her, compose songs, and sing along with them in her melodious voice. She made everyone around her feel comfortable and showered her unconditional love without any bias. She respected the religious faith of others. She never spoke ill of others or criticized their devotion or religious practices. Though she worshipped Bala Tripura Sundari, she gave Raghavendra Swami Diksha to a devotee. She exhibited religious tolerance towards others' faiths. She had some Muslim devotees as well and would also participate in the Urus celebration in Nagur Baba Dargah located near Eluru Taluk office. Kamalamma Garu considered pilgrimage and a dip in holy rivers as a spiritually meritorious act. She would make annual pilgrimage with her disciples and the Peetam devotees to Tirupati, Jonnavada and Tiruvatiyur. She always considered herself as an ordinary person and a firm devotee of Devi. Even when people pointed out her with divine powers, she would ask them to trust and be devoted to the Almighty and emphasize that nothing would be possible without divine grace. There was also another novel dimension to her individuality. She had a modern outlook about women. She believed that women should be empowered intellectually and financially to establish their own individuality. She considered that this would be possible only through higher education and employment of women. She considered women to be financially independent. She saw that her daughters received very good education. Kamalamma and Satyanarayana Garu thus led a fruitful married life. Each one progressed rapidly in their spiritual sadhana and rose to the level of acknowledging the divinity in the other person. Thus, both of them evolved to be great Siddha Purushas. Such people can't be emulated. They can only be saluted, revered and followed. Jai Gurudeva. Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Chapter 12. Gnana Vairagya Prapti, the wisdom of detachment. Kamalamma Garu crossed the age of 60 and her spiritual strength reflected in the stability, clarity and integrity of her thought, word and action. Some of the incidences narrated in this chapter reflect her spiritual power, knowledge and realization of the self, that is Viveka, Vairagya and Atma Gnana. Knowledge of completeness of the self, Purnamida Purnam. One fine day, 3 old men came unannounced to the Peetam and spoke thus to Kamalamma Garu. "Oh mother, please serve us lunch. We are very hungry." Kamalamma Garu welcomed and asked them to come inside. Just then, a small girl called Lakshmi also entered quickly and said, "Pinni Garu, you asked me to get 3 plantain leaves to serve lunch to some guests whom you were expecting since morning. Here they are. I got the leaves for you." She handed over the plantain leaves to Kamalamma Garu so that lunch could be served. Taking those leaves in her hand, Kamalamma Garu pointed out the 3 men to the little girl and said, "Yes, little one, they are the 3 visitors whom I had mentioned to you in the morning." She then requested the visitors to refresh themselves with a quick wash. The visitors were stunned and asked how she knew about their coming. Kamalamagaru replied that the Jaganmata had told that they would be coming. They sat down and lunch was served. Their hunger seemed abnormal. Food cooked for 6 people was already served, and one of the guests asked if she could still serve them with some more food. Kamalamagaru replied, "Yes, sir, there is sufficient food. The Divine Mother who guided you here will also see that your hunger is satiated." The guest further asked, "What would happen if we ate all the food that is cooked? Would food still be left out?" Kamalamagaru said, "Everything in this world is manifestation of Parabrahmam that originated from the primeval, all-pervading power called Adi Shakti. This Peetham is the seat of such magnificent infinite Shakti called Bala Tripura Sundari. What was, what is, and what shall remain is only that Parabrahmam, and hence nothing can be emptied. Whatever is shall always remain." These words are filled with deep wisdom, devotion, and are the essence of Vedanta, which says, Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasisyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Let us now meditate upon her words and the depth of its meaning. The words Brahmam and Parabrahmam are generally used in religious context. Though they appear to be same, they are not identical. Parabrahmam is also called Brahmam, Atma, Satyam, Mahabhutam, Self or Superconscious. It is eternal and does not have any attributes. It is Anantam and Nirguna. It is all-pervading, all-powerful and beyond dualities of creation, namely brightness, darkness, birth, death, love, hate, etc. It is beyond the reach of senses, thoughts, intellect and intuition. Hence, it can be perceived by the 5 senses or imagined by the limited powers of the mind or understood by the intellect. This entire creation originated from this substratum called Parabrahmam. It is nourished and sustained by Parabrahmam and is finally dissolved into Parabrahmam. This manifestation of Parabrahmam to aid creation, sustenance and dissolution is called Prakriti. Now, how did this happen? The initial pulsation is a stir or perturbation in the still state or Parabrahmam and is called Spandana. From this Spandana arose the Sankalpa, that is, the divine will to create. The state of Spandana is embedded with the power, that is Shakti, to design, decide and execute Ichcha, Gnana and Kriya Shaktis. Such a state is a transitory state between stillness, devoid of thoughts, to movement or existence. Thus was born the mind or the manas. This clearly explains the vacillations and transitory nature of the mind. The evolution of the mind and its powers is termed as the Trinity, that is Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara. The further propagation of the Spandana Shakti of the Parabrahmam results in the different forms of creation, namely animate and inanimate, living or non-living, moving and sedentary, etc. A deep probe into this aspect leads us to the conclusion that there is only void everywhere and the entire creation is only a projection of thoughts and the dualities associated with it. This is what our seers and sages called as Maya or illusion. The entire nature and its nature qualities never appear to be the same. It is always relative and continuously changing. We can never identify the cause of creation and dissolution because our comprehension is bound by narrow parameters of space and time. This can be compared to the light emitted by a very distant star observed by a person on earth. It is proved that light from stars take millions of years to reach Earth. They might even become extinct by the time the light reaches the Earth. By living in a certain place at a given instant, we cannot comprehend either the birth, active phase, or the death of star. This principle of relativity and uncertainty was also well expounded by physicists of the West. This is because we live in a space and time frame, whereas the Brahman operates seamlessly, unlike Brahma, who operates from the seat of mind. There might be innumerable Brahmas creating innumerable worlds and dissolving into Parabrahmam after a time frame which is larger than what we can comprehend with our limited understanding. Our ancient scriptures explain the time frame in terms of man years, yugas, kalpas, and manvantaras in the most logical sequence. The basic unit of measuring time is earth years. It is believed that a human being is created with suitable mechanism to live for hundreds of years on this earth. Now let's see the Brahma's lifetime. The Vedic literature consists of 4 yugas, namely the Kruta Yuga, which is almost for 17 lakhs 28,000 earth years. Treta Yugam, 12 lakhs 96,000 earth years. Dwapara Yugam, 8 lakhs 64,000 earth years. And Kali Yugam, 4 lakhs 32,000 earth years. That is equal to 1 Mahayugam, that is 4 yugas, which is equal to 43 lakhs 20,000 earth years. And that is Brahma's lifetime. For Lord Brahma, one complete day is equal to 1 day plus 1 night, that is 1000 Mahayugas plus 1000 Mahayugas. That is totally 2000 Mahayugas. One complete year, that is 360 of such Brahma days. One complete lifespan is 100 Brahma years, that is 100 into 360 into 2000 into 43 lakhs 20,000 human years. The lifespan of Brahma is huge in comparison to ours, yet it is finite. But Parabrahmam is Akshayam and Anantam, that is eternal, without a beginning or an end. Parabrahmam manifests itself as Prakriti and Purusha. Brahma draws his energy, Srishti Shakti, only by constantly meditating on the Parabrahmam. Thus, our Vedas tell us the way in which entire creation operates and dissolves. We cannot comprehend the depth of such details unless we are blessed with this wisdom or by a Sadguru. Now, how does a person identify and reach his Guru? Only a person who is in good company of devotees is blessed to hear and read about the life, mission, and teachings of various Gurus. Such a person earns great merit through his good thoughts, words, and deeds. He is then endowed with the ultimate virtue of reaching a Sadguru who will then take care of him and ensure that he becomes one with the Parabrahman. This is called Jivan Mukti state, and let us pray that we are all guided thus by our Sadguru Kamalamma Garu. Jai Gurudeva. Now let us return to the Peetham where the 3 guests were sumptuously fed. On hearing the words of Vedic wisdom from Kamalamma Garu, they said, "O Mother, you have satisfied our thirst for Gnana along with the hunger of food. We are extremely pleased with you. May this Peetham lead many devotees and their families in the virtuous and righteous path laid down by the Shastras." They thus blessed her and left the place. A devotee who witnessed this entire incident inquired Kamalamma Garu about them. She said, they were Trimurtis whose hunger was satiated by the deity of the Peetham, that is the Parabrahmam in the form of Bala Tripura Sundari. Peetham is a Mukti Dhamam and not a Kamakutam. Let us now see another incident which shows that she was steadily focused in evolving into Jivan Mukta and also enabling the other devotees to walk into the similar path through their sadhana. We saw earlier that her second daughter, Tripuramba, was born with divine qualities and power. On a hot summer afternoon, the child who was playing inside the house suddenly rose into air in a sitting posture and remained floating in that posture for some time. "It is so hot outside, isn't it? Let us make our home a bit cool." Saying so, she slightly shook her hand and it started raining jasmines. Then she waved the other hand and it started pleasantly drizzling, producing a cooling effect all around. Kamalamagaru immediately understood that the Divine Mother had manifested in Tripuramba. She immediately prayed, "O Devi, please do not bind us in illusion and desires by exhibiting such acts. I pray that this Peetam should be the center for liberation, Mukti Dhamam, and not a place for fulfilling desires through display of supernatural powers." Her prayers were answered and such incidences never occurred again. Sympathy, empathy, and acceptance, the marks of spiritual evolution. We generally observe good people showing sympathy towards the suffering and downtrodden, but empathy is a sign of greater spiritual evolution. Only when a person is detached from the physical world, he or she can understand and evaluate one's own and others' thought process, estimate the gravity of situations and problems, and analyze them correctly without getting entangled. This is also an aspect of Viveka and Vairagya. Many instances of such empathy were seen in Kamalamagaru's life. Once she had gone to Bhadrachalam on a pilgrimage with other devotees. They saw a lady carrying an idol of Lord Krishna just as one could carry a child. This lady bathed, fed and sang lullabies to put the idol to sleep just as one would pamper a child. All those who saw her considered her to be mentally disturbed and laughed on seeing her actions. While Kamalamagaru, who observed all this, remarked, "You are all mistaken. Her devotion is beyond the comprehension of those who are bound to this materialistic world. She is so engrossed in her sadhana towards the liberation and is totally cut off and far above those worldly behavior and attachment." Kamalamagaru was spiritually mature to such an extent that she could comprehend the sadhana mode and degree of progress of the sadhakas. Kamalamagaru firmly believed in the law of karma. When one of the devotees was widowed, she consoled, saying, "We cannot escape the law of karma. Whatever is destined will surely happen. Through faith in the Almighty, we shall feel protected and gain sufficient mental and physical strength to endure the pain of struggle and overcome difficulties." Her Vedanta was so practical and convincing. What we perceive and how we view the world and the happenings around us depends on our inner growth and evolution. Kamalamagaru was progressing towards greater stability and had established an inner tranquil. She perceived the world as a brilliant aspect of Parabrahman. She saw the Almighty even in the things that appear mundane to us. To ordinary people like us, a train journey would only mean a lot of noise, discomfort and strain. But for Kamalamagaru, she treated every event as an opportunity to learn. She would draw a message from the journey and immerse herself into meditation or Panchakshari Japam. She would wonder about the intellectual power of the inventor and the supremacy and grace of the Almighty who had bestowed such intelligence to human beings. She would feel inspired to overcome obstacles that come in the way of life when she saw the train tear past the opposing wind. Even the rhythmic sound of the train on the track sounded like a powerful Omkar and Panchakshari, that is Namah Shivaya, to her. Thus, she saw each and everything as an incarnation of the Almighty, which further strengthened her spirit of Vedanta. Detachment from materialism is true learning. She developed an extraordinary sense of detachment from materialistic things and extreme compassion for fellow beings. Once a small-time thief robbed her gold chain. When her family complained to the police, the thief was caught and beaten black and blue. On seeing his condition, Kamalamagaru's eyes filled with tears and compassion, and she pleaded the police to cancel the complaint and let him go. On another occasion, one of her relatives visited her. After the formal exchange of pleasantries, the guest delved into the details of crisis which her family was facing due to her newly married daughter and son-in-law. She expressed that she could not honor her promise to gift her daughter with a pair of gold bangles during the wedding due to financial problems. So her son in law had sent her daughter back, asking her to come only when the promise was honored. On hearing her words, filled with guilt, remorse, and concern, Kamalamma Garu immediately removed her gold bangles and gave it to that lady, saying, "Take this, give it to your daughter, comfort her, and ask her to join her husband. Goddess Tripurasundari asked me to give this to you, and we have to honor her command." She strongly felt that society and human relations could be strengthened and nourished only when each one of us exhibit forgiving nature and compassion towards others. She discouraged people criticizing and talking ill about others. She wanted each one of us to foster love and universal brotherhood and be ideal soulmates. Thus, Kamalamma Garu progressed in her spiritual sadhana, developing Viveka and Vairagya through Jnana. Jai Gurudeva. Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Chapter 13. Siddha Padam. Ultimate Liberation and Deliverance. Satyanarayana Garu retired from his services when he was at Kalaparu. His spiritual practices also intensified after his retirement. The couple came to regard each other as divine souls. The relationship was not like any other husband and wife. It had reached a different plane similar to that of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and Sharada Devi. They saluted each other whenever they came face to face. Both of them understood that the path to spiritual evolution and final liberation from samsara has to be treaded alone through individual efforts. They realized the need for isolation for such practices. Kamalamma Garu had the responsibility of managing the Peetham and its activities, and she could not isolate herself from the society and interacting with the people. But Satyanarayana Garu felt that he had completed his responsibilities as a husband and as a father. He had educated and also got his daughters married, and hence had no commitments towards the family and the society. He moved to Rajamahendravaram, stayed with his elder brother's sons, so that he could peacefully carry out his meditation and other spiritual practices at Markandeya Swami temple. He would visit Eluru now and then and spend some time with his wife and children. Living thus, Satyanarayana Garu reached his heavenly abode in the year 1972. The grief of losing her husband did not disturb Kamalamma Garu's tranquility. She knew and also told the devotees that she had to live another 5 years. She honored the Hindu religious tradition and gave up all the auspicious articles which adorn a Sumangali, namely kumkum, tilakam on the forehead, applying turmeric to feet and face, wearing glass bangles, etc. When her relatives and devotees felt sad and disturbed to see her in such a form, she consoled them, saying, "Our ancient Hindu traditions have been established keeping the welfare of the society in mind. If elders like me fail to follow the traditions of Haindava Dharma, I would be setting a wrong example. Don't grieve over my appearance. Nothing is inauspicious. From now onwards, samskara shall be my kumkuma tilakam. Working for the welfare of the people shall be the bright turmeric I apply to myself, and extending motherly compassion and love to everyone shall be my Mangal Sutra." Kamalamma Garu remained in isolation most of the time. She was seen to withdraw from the worldly matters and spend more time meditating and contemplating. Her second daughter, Tripuramba, was taking care of the Peetham, its management and activities. It was in the year 1977, Devi Navaratri was celebrated with great enthusiasm, with people coming from faraway places to participate in the festivities and puja rituals. In spite of her ill health, Kamalamma Garu observed her Navaratri Upavasa Diksha, took part in all the celebrations and blessed the devotees. Anna Samaradhana was also conducted on a grand scale on Vijayadashami. Her health gradually deteriorated after that. On 13th December 1977, she honored an invitation for lunch by a devotee and returned home in the afternoon. She sent a word for K. Ramarao and asked him to go to Tadepalligudam and ask her daughter Lakshmi Sarojini to come to Eluru at the earliest. Sarojini reached Eluru by evening and asked her mother why she had asked her to come urgently. Kamalamma Garu replied that she just felt like seeing her. At about 10 pm, she felt uneasy and experienced some difficulty in breathing. She wanted Sarojini to call Narayanamurthy, one of Kamalamma Garu's devotees. Tripuramba, without understanding her mother's intention, asked her, "Why should we disturb Narayanamurthy late in the night?" Then Kamalamma Garu said, "You need not call anyone from tomorrow onwards. My call has come and it's time for me to leave this mortal coil." She sat in a meditative Padmasana posture and her prana left the body through the Brahmarandhra and reached the heavenly abode. Her relatives and devotees were immersed in deep sorrow and grief. They were reminded of her words of wisdom and Vedanta. She would often tell them, "This body is mortal, but Atma or the soul is immortal. I shall shed my body, but shall always remain in spirit in this Peetham and protect all my devotees. I shall always abide by them as their shadow." These words of promise echoed in their ears and strengthened their faith. The Kappagantala brothers, whom she considered as her own sons, performed her last rites with great respect and devotion. She left the mortal body with such great ease as one would shed a used garment. This is a proof of her goodness, discrimination, and detachment. Her presence can be felt, and her protection is being experienced by all devotees who worship her at the Peetham. Let us now see a couple of experiences of devotees who experienced her presence even after she had attained Siddhi. A devotee by name Jalamma stopped going to the Peetham after the passing away of Kamalamma Garu. She grieved that there was no one to whom she could turn for comfort and guidance. Kamalamma Garu appeared in her dream and demanded why she was not going to Peetham. Jalamma was led to the Peetham, and right in front of her eyes, Kamalamma Garu merged into the idol of the Peetham. Thus, Kamalamma Garu established that she continued to remain in the Peetham in her divine form. Padmasri, a devotee, was also Kamalamma Garu's granddaughter. In the year 1985, Padmasri had delivered a baby boy in a maternity home at Eluru. She heard someone knock the door late in the night and opened the door to see who the visitor was. She was pleasantly shocked and astonished to see Kamalamma Garu enter the room, saying that she had come to see her great-grandson. She picked up the baby from his cradle and played with him for some time. Carefully placing him back, she said, "I have to get back to the Peetham to be on time for the early morning Dasara Puja after having a holy bath in the Ganges at Kasi," and hurriedly left the hospital. Padmasri was dazed, not knowing whether she was awake or dreaming. The same day in the early hours, a devotee called Durgamba was in the deep slumber in the Peetham. She felt that Kamalamma Garu was trying to awaken her, saying, "Arrange some warm water for my bath. I just returned from the hospital after blessing the newborn." When Padmasri and Durgamba correlated their experiences, the devotees were delighted and their faith was reinforced when they experienced their Guru's omnipresence. Even after she attained Siddhi, numerous devotees felt her presence in the Peetham. Sadgurus transcend all boundaries and can appear anywhere, anytime, and in any form to assure the devotees of their protection and benediction. Jai Gurudeva. Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha.